Thank you very much for what you do, by the way. My name is Emmanuel Adebola. I came into Canada 8 years ago. Prior to that, I used to work for a consulting firm called Accenture, one of the big consulting firms. And the idea was for me to take on a big project. Coming here was a big sacrifice because I was just about to make the MD position, which is the highest band. But the North American dream was too big to refuse. So I came in, but I met the first shock because I wasn't able to do the job I came in for. I came with a work permit. And so I went through a journey, a very tumultuous journey for about 3 to 5 years. So when I came out of that, I had the opportunity of taking a 9-to-5 job, but I said, all this experience must have been for something. And so I founded a nonprofit called ANA Global. ANA Global is an organization that facilitates entrepreneurship development for peoples of African and Caribbean descent. We started formally on the 16th of June in 2023 in my town of Milton with just 8 people who are members at the time. But I'm happy to say that within less than 2 years, we're over 600 members. We have members in Canada, US, Australia, Europe, and Africa. And our goal is to help people, particularly who come into Canada, with great lofty dreams, recognize that you don't have to stay in the queue to be a 9-to-5 person. You can actually be an entrepreneur. Canada statistics tells us that only 2.1% of businesses in Canada are owned by the Black community. Now, I know that is not true. Why? Because a lot of Black folks operate business but under the table. They prefer to do cash. And so what we're trying to do is some form of advocacy reorientation to let them know that you're actually better served registering your organization and ensuring that you get the best value for it, because there are many opportunities. You can get funding, you can get tax, so many things. So that's what I do at my bread and butter. So I lead the organization, and then I also have I'm a business consultant, so I have a consulting practice called Tender Make Consulting, which originally started by focusing on technology, because I used to be in the technology practice in my former organization, SAP. I was the SAP lead, but I've segued now into providing unified solution offerings for small and medium enterprises, startups, and scale-ups. There have been different generations of Blacks in North America. The first generation came against their will, what we call the slave trade. But more recently, there are people like me who have come on their own volition as immigrants to, economically to make a better lot for the family, but even much more to be part of the change. So I see myself as a pioneer of sorts. And so a lot of what I do not just for myself, but I'm very cognizant that I'm representing a new wave of people who will come down the line. So I wear the heart of a pioneer. So founding the organization ANA Global is part of empowering the Black community to do much more than just be around, to actually make things happen. Some of the challenges I face are with some of the people who have been here earlier, who still have an invisible chain in their hands, thinking that it's all about, they blame everything else but themselves. And I'm saying, no, if it doesn't work, it's not the government, it's me. And so there's an element of that where I'm advocating change and being the example of what I teach. But there's also another part where one of the good things about I'm both a Canadian and a Nigerian, is that I can then provide help to my country, Nigeria, but even much more the African diaspora. So outside of ANA Global, I also founded an organization called the North American Chamber of Black Entrepreneurs. And what we're focused on is how can we find the opportunities for bilateral trade between Africa and Canada and Africa. So I wrote an article, I've written 2 or 3 articles since the launch of the signing of the Canada-Africa strategy, where I proposed opportunities where the government needs to sustain it, but even more importantly, the Black community needs to actually step up our game to take advantage of the opportunities that are bound with this. First of all, as I do that, let me acknowledge the efforts of the One campaign, which has been working behind the scenes to support with advocacy. I met with Minerva last year when she invited me for an event. So I'm aware of some of the fantastic work that One is doing. But beyond that, I think it's at different levels. The former minister, immediate past Minister of International Development, Hamed Hussein, I listened to him speak about some of the challenges that prevented the Canada-Africa strategy, one of which was, for instance, he said that many people from Africa fly over Canada to the US. So there needs to be a recognition that Canada can actually deliver. Canada is a G7 country, and Canada itself needs to recognize that it has the tools. So I'm very happy with some of the things that are happening now economically, because it's forcing us to look within and actually address this. That's on one hand. One other thing that the minister mentioned was what we call FIPA agreements. The FIPA agreements actually need to be in place to actually ensure equity in the trade and transaction between Canada and Africa, because sometimes it can be skewed. But the other thing is that as Africans, we need to believe enough in ourselves. There's this element of thinking that the solution has to be external, not necessarily. So what I say is that I believe in institutional racism, but out of 10, it's only 10%. 9% is what I call friendly fire, where we don't believe in ourselves and we shoot ourselves down. We need to help ourselves, believe that the Africans can do it for themselves with collaboration. So that's pretty much. And then the other thing is that even for countries looking to support Africa, there needs to be better visit. You can't just use, so one of the seminars I organized recently, one thing that came out was that you can't use a one-size-fits-all strategy for Africa. Africa is a large country, 55 states, different nationalities, different tribes and stuff. So you need to work with those who have a local knowledge of the footprint so that you can make the most effective use of the resources that you have. So those are some of the things that I believe need to be taken into consideration. And then one more thing is that the beautiful thing about Canada is that a refugee can become a minister. It's happened twice. Ahmed Hussein, who I mentioned, when I came in 8 years ago, he was a minister of immigration, originally from Somalia. And then he became the minister of international development. Then now, very recently, is Ariel Kayabaga, who became the minister of national demography or something like that. So those two actually show me that there's no limitation. The only limitation is in here: your imagination, your belief, your confidence, your ability to step up your game. Africa has the largest deposit of mineral resources in the world right now. If countries were rich by the amount of resources, then Democratic Republic of Congo will be the richest country in the world. And so we have this deposit. My home country of Nigeria is one of the largest deposits of crude oil. But guess what? We don't refine this. And so one of the things that is evident about Africa, that's why even with all the similarly negative media, you see people flying every day back home. There's a substantial resource base for minerals. Then secondly, we have a thriving youth population that actually can serve, can be put to good work, but there needs to be an orientation. That's how we can turn the comparative advantage into a real asset. Yes, we have the numbers, but we need to turn them into a productive team that can work. That's two. Africans are very sociable, so we can work with each other, we can celebrate you. It's an environment where you feel at home. And we also have, many of the countries are close to the equator, so you have a beautiful weather all year round, rich vegetation. If you like animals, you go to the East Africa or South Africa, we have very, very, very beautiful animals that you can enjoy. And we have some seaside beach, so we have everything in that continent. What's just required is leadership. Self-leadership and collaborative leadership is what we need to make Africa what it should be. So right now, the government of Canada has set up a program called the Black Entrepreneurship Program 2021. The first set of money was given, but there needs to be better accountability for this, so that when the next tranche is done, we can actually trace, because you can't just throw money into the water and nobody. I don't know if that's political, but that's something that I want us to hold ourselves accountable. We're advocating for it, it has come, but how is it utilized? It has to be a partnership between the government and us to make that happen. Yeah.